and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. Please hit that like button. Please mash that little subscribe number. I am your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. It is 5 a.m. where we're at. I don't know, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere, as they said in one of the country songs. And I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, San Diego bound after work, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, I'm on my third cup of coffee, and I've been up since 3:30 a.m. waiting for this moment, and I got a lot to tell you. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I'm excited that we'll get to maybe sneak a podcast or two in before a busy weekend for me. And it sounds like, man, you're getting ready to start ramping up promotion for the next couple shows in your neck of the woods. So, man, it's grind time, man. And we've talked to AJ Kirsch a couple times, and this is the guy that I look at and go, this is the guy that grinds all the time, right? It's audition at this time, drive to this thing to do the next thing, and get the workout in, and all these things, man. It's like that guy is such an inspiration when it comes to, just getting out there and getting stuff done. And they always say, if you need something done, ask a busy person. So that's why I like you, man, because you tend to stay pretty busy too. Like, yeah, as I'm talking to you about when we're going to podcast next, you're just listing off all the different shows, and I got to go promote on these days for this town. Then I got to promote at these days for this town, and so on and so forth. It's like I get to enjoy my last, I don't remember what day it was. I get to enjoy this last day, and then it's straight into promoting. So, but an exciting time, man. We're trying to drum up business and become a little bit more busy, even though we're already pretty busy.
To AJ Kirsch, you are my fire. Little boy band action to you, Kirsch karaoke challenge. I just want to tell you about my weekend that starts here at 8 o'clock, right? I had an opportunity arise from a previous ring rental that just came back, and I realized the money I'm making for this summer stroll, and then an opportunity that arose with another. So there's two events going on in town just across the bridge, two huge events, and I am part of both of them, but I will not be at one of them. So I ran into it. I said, you want this? Get a U-Haul. I talked to my cousin, actually, and he is going to get paid to handle my thing going on over here while I have this thing going on over here. So this weekend turned into financially what I would have made working 10 hours a day, 5 days a week at my old job. And we're promotion going on in both places, just 10 minutes apart from each other, separated by a bridge. And I realized, so I get up today, we got the podcast. I've already been on the phone with Rick Luxury for an hour because he couldn't sleep, right? So we're already geared in talking about the business. So at 8, I got to go help John Cooper with WCWF load a ring on my trailer. We got to take that out to Wheatland and set that up. And then I have to be back at 6 o'clock for my 1-year certificate and chip at the recovery, AA for the recovery. Oh, anonymously. I'm no longer anonymous, everybody. I've busted that. Then I got to go back and help him break it down. Tomorrow, when it's going to be 100 degrees, I got to get up at 8 in the morning and help load this ring in a U-Haul so this can get over here, and I got to show them how to set it up. Then I got to come back and hook up to the trailer, take this ring by 11 o'clock over here to set up where we're going to be there from noon to 9 o'clock tonight. Then we got to turn around. Oh, I got to wrestle, by the way. Then we got to turn around and take the ring back to the Pizza Guys Arena to set up so we can train at 10 o'clock in the morning. But then I have to meet the U-Haul back at 8 o'clock in the morning at my storage to put the ring back in the storage shed. I'm going to be touching, I thought I was only going to be touching one ring 6 times, but I'm going to be touching 2 rings 8 times. And I mean, that's just how business works, man. This is probably going to be one of my busiest weekends, which last weekend was such a busy weekend that took me a couple days to recover from, but I didn't have to really do anything. I helped set up a ring, and it just never stops, man. It just never stops. So that's what I have going on, and we got to continue to do this because one day this is going to be worth it, but we love to do it.
Exactly. I mean, we have the big goals, and I talked to you from the beginning about how, like, is it even worth it? Are people going to listen to us? Are we going to get subscribers? Is it going to make its way and be worth our time and things like that? And it's a passion for us. So we want to we want to spread our knowledge and let people know, things that we're going through, things that we see on shows, just general knowledge, how to grow your business, um, you know, expand into other towns, what you should look for in training. Like we have all these different topics that we talk about, but we're hoping that it's gonna get somewhere within a year or so. That's kind of we put that goal on there, and hopefully within that time we start to see some results. I feel like we're getting a lot of really good feedback as far as people commenting, not only just on the videos, but sending us personal messages, letting us know, hey, I've been listening, I'm getting something off of it. It always excites me when I hear the people that are like, it's like a free training seminar twice a week. So those are the things that I like to hear, and we have our loyal listeners. We shout them out about. I feel like Serena always watching and spreading the word. It's always a really cool thing, and we get great feedback from everybody. I feel like so. It's just one of those things. Like, this is important to us. We're going to get up and get this thing done whenever we can. Squeeze it in around our busy schedules. And then that's what we're doing right now, man. So it's a good time, man. We want to be busy. That's our whole goal here. So and I'm thinking about ramping up over the next end of June into July for us as well. We talked on the phone about what our 2026 is going to look like if this is the way we're going right here in 2025. With how many shows it's going to be. So, but God, man, it's so exciting to see that stuff, and exciting that people want to train to be pro wrestlers, and hopefully we're going to set people up for the long term, that we're going to get to watch people down the road that we've had some sort of impact on, and we'll see them succeed. So that's exciting as well.
The grit, the grit to our grind, man. Consistency showing up. It's an informative podcast just about professional wrestling, and a lot of it's local. So a lot of podcasts have different guests and talk about different stuff. We're kind of falling into this rare niche that I think a lot of people wanted to do, and we just started doing it. And it's going to be a little bit difficult getting things going because what we're talking about and how we're doing it. And one thing I wanted to talk about today was, I was talking yesterday. I showed up at the training facility, and before I had a good class, but before I got in there, the door was already open, and there was Jason Xavier, Nathan Brick, Illumide, and Tempo. And I'm talking to Tempo because every time I get around Tempo, we're always wrapping it up, talking about the shit. And he looked at me, and we were talking about the business, and he said, "Yeah, but you're kind of timeless." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You're kind of timeless." He said, "How many guys nowadays, realistically, can really just go in the ring and do what you're always talking about doing?" And I really thought about that, and I was like, shit, man, like that's the truth. And he's like, "Yeah, there's not many, man." He's like, "I even put stuff together beforehand, and it's not something that a lot of people can do because it's not required." in today's wrestling. So we're kind of like a fine wine, aging like a fine wine. One thing I wanted to talk about is I've had talks with you, and I just had a talk with John. I'm almost 44. And to have a nickname over 26 years like Prime Time, to be accepted with that nickname, the number one slot on cable television, Deion Sanders, it's on my forearms. It's kind of cool for 26 years that people refer to you as Prime Time, baby. You know what I mean? But I was talking to a student yesterday, Dickie Dakin. He don't give a shit if I say his name on here. And he just kept saying, he's like, I just don't get it. And I'm thinking he's 20, he just turned 25. And I'm like, what don't you get? You know what I mean? He's like, well, it's easy for you. You've been doing it so long. He's like, I don't get it. And I thought back, and I've thought about when this kid started. And I thought about, he's 25 now, and the time he took off when he had a kid and going through some stuff. And Rick always says it to me too. He says, it's about 6 or 7 years before you get it, if you keep doing it, before it clicks. And I just looked at him and I said, you know what? I said, sooner rather than later, you're going to get it. I said, just keep wrestling every weekend. I said, because it took me till I was 24, 25. And I always have talked, if you go back on the podcast, about JJ Perez and the arm drag thing, right? Like, it's just going to, we don't know where. We don't know who you're working. We don't know when. We don't know if it's going to be in a car on a road, if it's in the ring after a match. Somewhere, some way, sometime. And this is what I told him. Just keep going. Because you don't know when, sooner rather than later, you are just, something is going to happen. It could happen with you doing the ankle lock. It could happen with you pulling yourself up the ropes. You don't know. It could be something the referee says to you, like Sparky. But it's going to, your mind's going to explode one day. And you're going to go, oh my God, I get it now. And that's the thing for these young guys is there's going to, these young guys that have been wrestling, you're just getting started. One day, I always talk about the JJ Perez moment, and I took off from there. One day, something's going to happen live in that ring, and you're just going to understand what the fuck is really going on out here. Do you have a moment in your career just like I do? And I know so many, everybody does actually, that does it. What was the moment in your career, Paul, where it just all made sense to you and you understood the who, what, where, when, why, and how of what we're doing out there?
Oh, I think I remember Luster talking to me about it, just kind of like this conversation you're having with Dickie, right? He's like, eventually it's going to click. And I had no idea what that meant, but I was just like, okay, I wanted to do this pro wrestling thing, right? It's been something I watched forever, and I had an opportunity while I was playing college basketball to go check out their training, and that was like put on the back burner because I had bigger aspirations with basketball. I wasn't ready to give it up, and then coming back around and getting in there and training and things like that. And I feel like it's like things just fall into place because of different circumstances, people you bump into and stuff. But when it comes to the aha moment or when it clicked, I think for me I was tagging with Malachi in Oregon, and we were wrestling some old time guys, right? The match, we're talking about the match, Malachi's talking to me about like how this doesn't make sense and why, right? And then as the match is happening, I'm seeing it just unfold and going, oh, fuck, that's what he's talking about how this match doesn't make sense. It's two older guys against us, two younger guys, big giant guys, against these two, guys that have been around and stuff. And the guy, I'll never forget the guy's name. It's Richie Magnet. And I feel like,
Magnet. Sorry.
That's it. I know you go right to dick jokes, but he was an older guy at that time, and he was way smaller than us. But he was going to get the hot tag, right? And he's going to bump us around, and it was just like Malachi's telling me about it. He's like, yeah, it's their crowd. It's gonna get over, right? Just watch, right? So this old guy comes in and he's bumping us around, and the crowd is going crazy, right? Because it's his hometown. They want to see him tell the story of their team coming back and winning, right? So we're beating up their dude, and then this guy comes in, gets the hot tag, they explode, he bumps us around, and I don't even know if they beat us or not, but regardless, that was that moment that I was just like, oh shit, that's why you build to the hot tag, because you want this reaction. So getting to feel it and see it, I felt like that was that moment that it just clicked, and I was like, oh, dude, pro wrestling's easy, you know, at
Mhm.
that point. But that was years in, man. Just like you said, it's like you get that 6-7 years, and I think it comes quicker for some people. You know, um, you have guys that when they first start training, and I've heard this a bunch of times, like they can't even do a forward roll, right? They don't have an athletic background. They just love pro wrestling, and and it comes eventually, as long as you stick around. And I think that that's kind of the message that you're trying to send is just keep doing it, man. Like keep doing it. And I think the thing that we harp on so much is don't do it with the same person every weekend, right? Don't wrestle the same guy over and over and over. You gotta, expand your horizons and go work other places, right? I know I understand that we get kind of we get locked into those. Well, I'm loyal to this place, and for me, it was for so long it was SPW, right? Because you knew it was going to be at every third Sunday of the month, right? You're going to go there and you're going to work that place, and then sometimes you kind of get like, oh well, that guy's going to be here all the time. We'll figure out what we're going to do with them, things like that, rather than going, hey, um, this guy's going to come in and let's see what we can do about getting him to work with a bunch of different people, right? Don't pigeonhole him in a certain role where you're gonna, for obviously for me, the big guy, I don't know if I'm squashing someone or, we talk about how you get thrown into those three ways or you get some sort of scramble match and stuff like that. And we've talked about how to kind of overcome that and say no and ask the promoter like, what's your vision for me? And I've seen that lately from the promoting side. People asking like, what's the vision for my character? Where do you see me going? And things like that. So it's come for full circle for me, right? From being a talent asking those questions to now being a promoter having people ask me those questions. So I think that's you know it's beating a dead horse that we keep saying this over and over, but you got to get out there, man. You got to go out there and you got to work with different people because obviously for me, my story is I'm in Oregon. I'm working with these two older guys that have been around for a while. They know what's going on. They understand what's going to happen, even though size wise, this whole thing doesn't make sense. It's the little Mac Mike Tyson scenario, right? It's
Mhm.
the underdog. Um, this guy fighting from underneath and all those things. So I think it's super important to go out there and try to take advantage of some opportunities. You hear some people talk about don't just go out there and work for free over and over, but there's definitely positives of that situation as well. Going out there and you know working for the quote unquote exposure dollars, right? It's not monetary payment, but it's an opportunity to get exposure, not only maybe production exposure, but it's also exposure to other wrestlers that maybe can teach you something like it was in the old school, right? You'd go on the road and you'd work with people, right? It's on the job training. So I can't stress that enough, that how important that is to go out there and just get your feet wet and dive in feet first and go work some other places.
Exposure, experience, or the financial gain. If you can get all three of those, that is a great, great, great booking. And we talked about it too. Motels, food vouchers, being taken care of and put up for the weekend is good in the monetary. Video, promo, photos, all these build up videos, but like Doc does. Doc makes you a goddamn entrance video. You know what I mean? At 15, if you try to do it yourself, it'd be $1,500, $2,000 or more if you reached out and tried to get this stuff done on your own. So appreciate the people that are doing these extra. One thing I noticed when I walked in there yesterday, and when they left, I pointed it out to all my students. I said, "You see those 4 guys over there? Tempo, the Dark Fox Illumide, Jason Xavier, and Nathan Brick." I said, "Those 4 guys over there. I mean, even if someone else is technically better, what do those 4 guys look like over there? They look like professional wrestlers. They dress nice. They got good looks. They take care of their bodies. They're in shape. Back in the day when me, AJ, Brian Cage, Oliver John, and Scotty went down to All Pro Wrestling, wow, we walk in, they see 4 guys that are in shape with great bodies and good looks. The APW guys, Kafu, Derek Sanders, Nate Rules, when you're down there, those guys have good bodies. You, Adam Thornstowe, Luster the Legend, Malachi, Corey Dayton, even beyond that with Carl Fredericks, what was Steicher,
Right.
the other guy, Bison
Ryan
Braddock,
McQueen. Yeah.
McQueen. I'm pointing this out to my students. I've got about 10, 12 guys here yesterday, and I'm saying, hey, look at those 4 guys standing over there. If you walked in the room and you saw the guys at Primetime University training, and then you looked over there and saw those 4 guys standing there, even if John Cooper was in the building, you'd go, those look like professional wrestlers over there. So we've talked about it before, but it's the exact same thing. Like Hoochie Daddy this weekend. When you first look at the guy, he's not the tallest guy in the world. He's about my height, but he's in shape. He's big arms. He's tanned. He's got a little midriff shirt on, in his gimmick. So the importance to you young guys out there in this business, when you even think you're going to get into professional wrestling and you start looking around to where you're going to start training at, just realize eating right, going to the gym, exercising, doing all these things with your diet, your nutrition, and your physical exercise and your appearance, the way you look. I've recently seen Bad News Blakesley getting spray tans. And I'm like, holy shit. And people in class have came up to me and been like, hey, do you notice anything about him? He looks thinner. And it's like, no, he doesn't look fucking thinner. He's paying for a spray tan, for someone to spray tan him once a week. And it lasts a while. And it's like, just that extra cosmetic on a almost 500-pound guy is making other people are taking notice, going, hey, he looks thinner. There's something different about him. And that's why I always tell people the physical appearance. Like I tell Preston Price, change the gear, change the laces in your boots, get a new haircut, grow some fit. Just always continually make some type of a improvement to who you are. But I think that's crazy is like, we have to look like wrestlers, man. We have to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's as you're talking about changing your look, man, I think about all the different stages of my character and, going from I used to wear a prison jumpsuit when I first started, and then it was, trunks, then it's biker tights, then it's, long tights, then it's shorts over the top, then it's, shirt, no shirt, wife beater, um, sleeveless shirt, like just all these different things. And for me, it was just it was never intentional like that, but it was just like you think back and you go, oh yeah, you have been making some, you look different because you come in and do a different character or somebody has a different vision for you. Um and like what's your feel about that? I always think about like the Undertaker, how they talk about how he constantly evolved, right? His gimmick changed from era to era, and how important is that to change? Or you talk about you've had the same moniker for 26 years, and being proud of that, and uh, people accepting of that because of your work rate, right? You can be called prime time because you can still do anything on the card. You can fit any spot, and do a great job in that role, uh, even being a referee. Uh, so what's the importance of being able to evolve your gimmick versus kind of stick with what you're doing, right? Like I'm trying to establish this character, and I want to be this character. Like, what's the difference? Like, why should you do one versus the other? What circumstances are the things that are gonna create the need to change your gimmick and switch it up versus what's going to be something that's going to make you want to keep your gimmick the same, and really just establish it and keep it rolling in the same direction? What are the differences for that stuff?
Well, first off, if you ain't getting over, if you can't get over, something ain't working. Just repackage, change it up. Because if that's just but if you're getting over, and that was always the thing for me was, I changed some things. I went from, like rock and rap to just rap, like Eminem style beats, and my created my own raps. And I realized along the way that when I'm a bad guy persona, this is it. When I'm this baby face persona, this is it. And as I got, deeper in my career, clearly with the neon green and the black, heavily influenced by D-Generation X. I think the greatest tights I ever saw in my life was Shawn Michaels at the D-Generation X pay-per-view against Ken Shamrock. Black with the neon green X's and the DX. And I really like that color. I've always liked that color. My company's that color. So heavily influenced by that. For me, I always love to play the character of, I'd say, a tweener. That they like me, but I'm doing bad stuff because I'm a cool guy. You know what I mean? Some of us can play the cool guy role, and I love the cool. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, a lot of successful guys are heels, but they're the cool guy role. So we like them. You know what I mean? Rocky sucks. Rocky sucks. We wanted to boo this guy because when he came in as the, Rocky, he came in with the hair and the baby face, and we were like, this guy's terrible. And then we started telling Rocky sucks, and he cut the hair and changed the gimmick. And then because we hated him for what he was, then we started hating him, and he changed. We were like, oh, he's actually cool. You smell what the Rock is cooking, poontang pie. We were like, oh, this guy's awesome. So even when he was trying to be a bad guy, we still loved him. So what I would tell somebody is, if it ain't fit, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But you have to continually try to evolve and find yourself, because you don't know. You might go out there one night and you might do something and go, oh, hey, this is getting over. I know it's getting over. So I'm going to do this because I know it's working. And this weekend I learned something with Hoochie Daddy. I'm always going to keep bringing him up. He's a Marine. He's a strong kid. He's a mixed martial artist. He said he was an alternate on the Olympic wrestling team. So you're thinking like, damn, this guy can go out here and get busy, right? But he's already figured out in a year in this business, by accident too. Oh, the hat, the midriff shirt, the name Hoochie Daddy, the fanny pack. Wait a minute. I don't have to wrestle. I don't have to do physical stuff. I can walk out this curtain and I can make money and sell merchandise. Nobody knew who he was. I saw a lot of people wearing fanny packs. People wanted to buy merchandise, and he had merchandise. He has figured out already, a year into the business, including training, oh, this gimmick is going to get me over. and it can withstand the test of time. It's never going to get old. No matter where I go, it's always going to be great. And I'm an entertaining guy. You don't need to change it. There's your gimmick. Santino Marella. Good gimmick. Why change it? You know what I mean? It's like when that's what's the most impressive thing, to see a young guy like that after 1 year who's already like, I got it figured out. Oh, well, you do all this amazing stuff. Your lockup sucks. Does it matter? It doesn't matter that his lockup sucks. Why? Because he's just got to swivel his hips and be a personality, and he can go anywhere. He just showed up in Winnemucca, Nevada. We didn't know who the fuck this guy was. I love him to death now. We don't know who the fuck he is. And he's the most, besides Bad News Blakesley, the bearded lady, he's the most remembered guy. I had a kid walk up to me when JP was talking to him and go, "When's Manny Lemons coming back?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is Manny Lemons?" "Oh, he's from Utah." I even made a comment. I'm like, "Wow, he's Mormon?" Joking around with the kid, but he remembered Manny Lemons, and I saw the picture, tanned up, looked like he had already had a gimmick. I don't know what it is, but to you guys out there, you got to have something that the people want to see, because you can go out there and beat the shit out of this guy, do a million flips, slam each other through tables, risk life limit injury and death. They're not going to remember that. They're not going to remember that. You know why they're not going to remember that? Because ECW has already been around. Mick Foley has already flown off the cage and gone through the top of the cage. We've already seen it. Besides a few things going through plate glass off ladders or landing on floor, Darby Allin is the closest thing that I've seen to wow, since Jeff Hardy, of wow, this is a daredevil. And I remember what Darby does. I don't remember what Ospreay does. I don't remember what Omega or the Young Bucks or any of these guys, but I remember what Darby Allin does. There is something, even though he's a tiny guy, there's something unique and special about that guy. And that's your guy. I always say it. If Will Ospreay was the only guy on the card doing what he's doing, you'd be like, wow, it would be special. He's the best guy doing it. But if you were like WWE and he was the only guy doing all of that, and that was his gimmick, that's a gimmick, that's his character, you would be like, Stone Cold was a gimmick. They're like, oh, Austin's just himself out there in black boots and black trunks. Nah, Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, comes on the show, and Austin says, if you know what, Tyson, I will knock you unconscious. You running that little mealy mouth and them beady eyes. It's like, in reality, Stone Cold Steve Austin would get knocked the fuck out in one punch by either hand from Mike Tyson. But because he's the toughest SOB, he's telling the baddest man on the planet, he's pushing him and saying, I'll beat your ass, Tyson, like nobody else has. And the crowd's going, yeah, Stone Cold. That's his gimmick. He's the Texas rattlesnake, the toughest SOB. He's not being himself. That's the character he's been given.
Right. Yeah, it's as you're talking about, be that guy on the card. That reminds me of the Edlow episode. And hey, I'll pay you more money if you're doing something that someone else on the card isn't able to do. Right? Like, what can you do to set yourself apart from everybody else? So I think that's important. We're always trying to you'd like to evolve at some point, right? You'd like to get your character into that category where you go, this is what I bring to the table. This is why I'm going to be memorable. This is why the fans are going to want to see me, right? Because I do something different. We talk about different guys, man. We talked about Samurai a little bit last episode, right? And he was the guy that had he just sounded like a little bitch when he was getting hip tossed, right? It was like a scream, screech, whatever, but it was memorable, right? It was his thing, right? everyone knew, like, if this dude takes a hip toss, he's going to be squealing and screaming and stuff. And I remember that being something that people were like, you should bring that guy in, you know? He just had that quality about him where he'd come out of the curtain and people would be booing him. And I remember one time him grabbing the microphone and saying, like, why are you guys booing me? I literally have done nothing yet. I just walked out of the curtain. You guys are already booing me. I haven't done anything. How do you know I suck? You haven't seen me. I just walked out. But you have those characters that just impact the crowd immediately, right? We talked about in Winnemucca how it was the proving ground, right? Can you come out of the curtain and influence the crowd in 30 or 45 seconds? Can you let them know I'm the guy that you want to cheer or I'm the guy you want to boo? Can you do that? Uh, and it's one of those things where you're saying, when does it click? And for some of these guys, it clicks. Like, they know this is what I need to do. I walk out of the curtain. Here's how I'm going to get the crowd to react and know that they need to cheer me or they need to boo me, right? And I think on the opposite end of that spectrum, thinking about Jerry Gigolo, and it's not like he's a regular guy, right? He's got a mullet where you think like that's a trailer trash thing, but he's dressed in good gear and he's wearing a robe and a fancy hat, bedazzled or whatever, and he's giving all of these ladies a little bit of attention that maybe don't generally get attention. So he's found his niche, man. He's like,
Mhm.
he found out what is going to do it, right? What's going to make this guy memorable, and what makes a promotion want to bring this guy back, right? It's like, oh, well, God, man, we get such a great crowd reaction every time this guy comes out of the curtain. Let's bring that guy back, right? And then you get yourself in that situation where now promotions want to have you, right? Now, you can get to the point where you get a bidding war, right? Oh, well, hey, I'd like to come out, but this guy's already contacted me, and he wants to give me this much money, and blah blah, and then next thing you know, you can make a living off of pro wrestling, right? Because you're that desirable, to go back to the Edlo thing. You're providing me something that I don't get from anyone else. You're unique. So that is invaluable to have that type of influence on the crowd and things like that. That's how you get yourself booked on different shows.
Well, Gigolo's got it, right? It's like the hoochie daddy said, I got the it factor. He's telling me he's got the it factor. I'm like, fuck, you're telling me you got it.
Right.
Gigolo's got the it factor. He plays two characters too, but he plays that he plays them well. But Jerry has, and this is what I love about Jerry Gigolo, right? Like, he's figured it out. Like you were just saying, he's figured out this thing that he's doing. So, like, when Jerry asked me, "What do you think of my match?" Like, he does the John Cena thing. Randy. He's using all these guys in this character, their moves to get this character over. But Jerry goes, "What'd you think of my match?" And I tell Jerry, like, it didn't have to go so long. And what I was trying to explain to him was, it's not that it can't go 20, 25 minutes. It's don't make the wrestling portion of it go 20, 25 minutes. Like Jerry Gigolo, like Sergio Santana as well, but Jerry Gigolo being out there for 30 minutes is great. You're like, Jerry, you got 30, you got 45 on my 2-hour program tonight. That's going to be entertaining. What I mean by don't do 25 of wrestling is don't really from bell to bell physically make contact and wrestle for 20 minutes. Like, take 5 minutes before the match starts, including your entrance, and when the bell rings, take 5 or so minutes with your entrance and after the bell rings to really milk the crowd before you do anything. And then when you're leaving, go ahead and take another 5 minutes to milk this audience and really play with them. So if you're out there for 20 minutes, 10 minutes of what you're doing from your entrance to the time you lock up to when the match is over to the time you leave, half of the time is done playing the Jerry Gigolo gimmick. And you're only actually working for 8 to 10 minutes from the time you actually touch in the lockup to the time the 3 count hits and you leave. So that's what I mean is like, man, that's the most entertaining part of the show. Jerry Gigolo, a Sergio Santana, a Hoochie Daddy. I thought it was funny. I didn't know Malcolm Flex was a male stripper. I'm talking to him and I'm like, what's your gimmick? Because I always ask guys that. What's your gimmick? What do you do? And he just right away was like, oh, I'm a male dancer. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, I'm a male dancer. And I'm like, holy shit, this should be good. He's got the breakaway pants, the whole, like, I'd love to see Malcolm Flex take on Jeffrey Excellence because they both have the breakaway pants. I'd love to see them wrestle each other. I'd love to see them be a tag team. The adult dudes, Dawn and, Cash wasn't there, but Dawn and Arsonist. When you hear that music hitting and you see this big guy with his hair, long hair, and you see the little guy walking out with the buffed up arms, like, because they have stage presence being performers and rappers. But every time I watch them come out, I believe what they're doing. These guys are gangster. These guys are thug gangster rappers that are coming out here and they got the swagger coming to the ring. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, you said it about Samurai. Scoot and Samurai, Scoot would always come up and be like, hey, man, because I started training Scoot way back in the day. And he was Scoot a boot with Scotty a boot. And he'd always come up to me every match and go, what'd you think? What'd you think? And I never have a lot of critique for him because I'm so entertained by the way he works the crowd and the way Samurai worked the crowd that it's kind of just like, well, you guys did your job. You went out there and had the crowd going from start to finish and a huge pop at the end. I'm not going to critique little details in between because you literally did your job that's your part. You listen to the audience, you got them going. That's really what all we're looking for as a promoter.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's a good thing when you have those type of characters that understand, like, this is how I'm going to get the crowd reaction, and getting those little tweaks, man. Just like you said, you don't have to wrestle for 20 minutes, but you can do a little bit of your shtick at the beginning, and then do a little bit at the end, and wrestle in between, right? And I think that you have those characters that, I think normally you would think it's going to be a heel character where they get in there and they're stretching and all this, they're doing all this bullshit to start the match, and it's all in an effort to rile up the crowd. Like, what the fuck, man? Why didn't you stretch before you came out to the match? Why are you stretching out here? Like, it's getting under the crowd's skin a little bit, right?
Yes.
And it's always funny when you have that guy, and then they go through some sequence to start with, and they get out wrestled and embarrassed, and they slide out of the ring, and then they let the crowd come down a little bit, and then they scream out something like, I wasn't ready, or something along those lines. It was like, well, fuck, man. This guy just got in the ring and wrestled around for a couple minutes. Now he's going to, because he got outdone, he's going to roll out of the ring and he's going to tell the crowd that he wasn't ready. Like, I wasn't stretched out. I wasn't, whatever. And it's just like increasingly getting under their skin a little bit more. And it's like, and that's how you're building to that, where the crowd hates you and they can't wait to see the other guy get the upper hand, right? You're gonna beat the guy down for a bit. You're gonna be putting heat on him. You're gonna be doing things, like I say, like, it's not against the rules, but it's like just a dickhead thing to do, like standing on someone's fingers or whatever it is, pushing their, when you cover a guy and you push the guy's face to the side, or you use the side of their face to get up, you push off of their face to get up, where you just go, it's not against the rules, but But that was just a mean thing to do. You're just a dickhead for doing that. You're building that with the crowd. Go ahead, man. I know you guys.
I'm
So you
sorry.
got
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I, I was watching the new Limelight that comes out tomorrow, and I was watching Sergio Santana versus Dickie Dakin. And Dickie's on the ground, and he's trying to do this and pound his hand and get the crowd behind him. And Sergio's trying to grab that hand that's trying to, and he throws it on, and Dickie moves it and pulls it back, and he's trying to pump it again. And Sergio's trying to take the hand that he's trying to reach for the crowd and get him going with to put it on the ground and put his foot on one wrist so he can step on it. And he finally does it. And I laughed about that. And then I was thinking of you and Alex Ace and Sin and Bad News. And I remember Dickie coming out. Here comes this little pale white kid come with red hair coming out to this gangster rap song. And he's not saying he didn't say a word to anybody. He didn't say shut up or nothing. He just, and we see somebody like that. And then all of a sudden the music, and we go, fuck this guy, or fuck Sergio. And then the music hits and raw, here comes 500-pound Bad News Blakesley, or here comes Big Sin, or here comes Paul Isadora or Alex Ace. And it's like, you guys could make a living going from town to town, especially in the territory days, where you just send some shithead out to the ring, right? It could be Sir Samurai every night. He could come out and, hey, Grandpa. And then all of a sudden he's like, anybody in the back? Here we are in Nevada. And it's Bad News. And everyone's like, yes. Like the reaction the fans got when Dickie's in the ring because I'm reffing it. And they're like, fuck this little fucking white guy who thinks he's black, man. And then like he's in the ring, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then like, and his opponent. And the music hits and he blasts through the curtain and the whole place pops. And I'm listening to the crowd. They're like, oh, you're about to get this, you're about to get fucked up now, Dickie. You know what I mean? And the chance of you suck Dickie start breaking out of the crowd. And I'm trying to keep my composure as that. But I just thought that was funny that you said that, because it's like big guys, I don't have to be the most dominating man on the card. You can make just as much money and be just look at WWE. They figured it out with the Big Show. We sat there for years and we're like, God, this guy should be the champion. He was, but what an entertainer that guy was. You know what I'm saying?
right. Well, you can do a little bit of everything, and you think about how much shit that guy got for the most turns from heel to babyface and back and forth and all that stuff, and doing all the goofy characters when he was Shokishi and the Showster and all these different characters that he was doing. But man, what type of range does that show when the biggest company in the world can go, hey, we need you to do this, and you go out there and you kill it at that role. Oh, hey, we need you to do this, and you go out and you kill it at that role. Hey, we don't have enough baby faces. We need you to turn back baby face, and you go out and you do that. And oh man, we're slim on heels. We need you to turn back heel, and you turn back heel, and it's believable, right? The fans can get behind it, and just what a special guy that guy was. Just being able to do all those things. And you hear so many times about, like, you have guys like that they don't have to be the champ, right? They can do it without being a champion, right? Um, and those are the guys that they say, is it the man that makes the championship, or is it the championship that makes the wrestler? And in that guy's case, it's like you don't need a championship for this guy to be awesome, right? But you do have that for some other guys where it's like, oh man, it could really help this guy get over the top, and help put this guy over, as if we put the belts on him. That's going to give this guy some believability, and then people can get behind him if he's got the championship, right? Then we can do something with this guy. So being the guy that you don't have to do those things with, man, that's just it's just special, right? You just go, okay, well, we don't need, this guy doesn't need any props, right? He can just go out and do it and get over doing it. So definitely a guy that I look up to. And I remember, like, just dark matches and things like that, and being backstage, and I would, for me, it's like, you in business, in a job, you're not worried about somebody taking your job, right? To the point where you're trying to help the guy out. Like, hey, um, this is how you do your job better, because I'm, I'm comfortable with how well I do this job, that you're not going to take it from me, right? And that was the attitude that he had with me, was like, I'm another big dude, obviously not as big as him, but he's like, oh man, you're athletic and a big guy. It's like, just keep working, man. He's like giving me advice. It's like, and I'm thinking, like, why is this guy trying to help me? We're in the same category, but come to find out, we're not in the same category. This guy is, far beyond me. I just think about appearance, like, oh well, we look similar, to the fact that people always go, you know who you remind me of? And I'm like, let me guess. Big Show? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, yeah. I've heard it 1,000 times now.
Chokeslam. Well, I look at it like I was looking at I was talking to Jason Xavier and Brick yesterday, and I'm looking at their characters, and I get the appeal thing that they're doing down there, and then we're trying to make them this, over babyface tag team. And what I see is a couple cocky jackasses. You know what I mean? And I'm telling them, I'm like, Edge and Christian, when they were doing the 10-second pose and all that shit, I'm like, you guys could be fun to watch. Xavier coming out with the selfie stick, and like Road Dogg and Billy, were they the greatest tag team of all time? Fuck, maybe right up there in the top, man, because what they were doing. Who else, man? Like, I love the Dudleys. I love the Hart Foundation. We're talking technical now, but we're talking about a 6'5" in shape horse, man. And Billy Gunn, as Jim Ross, he's like, that man's a horse. He's a thoroughbred. And Road Dogg's out there in like baggy pants with kick pads and fucking a jersey. And they're like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all. And the fans are in sync doing it with them, right? And then Billy goes, and I got 2 words for you. But the crowd they love it. They're wrestling Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie in a dumpster match at WrestleMania. Who cares? It's entertaining. It's great. It's like Dickie. I could see, like, I love the seriousness of me and Dickie with the storyline we were trying to portray. But I also think if me and Dickie were running around as 2 obnoxious fucking assholes, you know what I mean? Like, that's gonna get more entertainment on what we're doing. I'm angry that I was taken so serious in my career, because what I know now, if I could go back then, my name would be like Rod Gozinia or Buster Cherry or something like that, and I would have come out and I would have. I look back on TNA when they wanted me to be Orlando Jordan's bisexual boyfriend. And I took myself way too serious. I was like, no way, man. That's how I'll get labeled the rest of my career. And I'm like, it probably would have been a fun character to play, to be honest with you, man. And Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes. We're going to put you in polka dot trunks. You know what name you'll always remember if you watch wrestling? And she was not around for very long. And I know you probably know where I'm going with this. What black female manager do you remember because of Dusty Rhodes?
Oh, Sapphire. Yeah.
Sweet Sap. American Dream. She was the gear lady. Vince McMahon. He's probably the funny. I hate, if you're a Vince McMahon hater, whatever, for everything that you think he's done. People have done worse, probably. Vince McMahon, he's so hilarious, man. I would just watch the match this morning. I sent in the group because it was only like 4 minutes, but it was great. He had Troy and Travis debut of Techno Team 2000, and their opponents were Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, and Barry Horowitz. I was like, God damn, 2 good-looking kids. They put the two biggest heel jobbers of all time against them, the enhancement talent, and those guys did an incredible job getting those kids over in that debut match. And it's like, Steve Lombardi, man, he's still there today. He didn't win any matches. Who cares? He's right. He's making the money. He's got the longevity. He's the Dick LeBeau to Ben Roethlisberger. Hey, Roethlisberger got 2 rings and made $25 million in a 10-year career or whatever. Dick LeBeau's been there 61 years and has more than 2 rings and has made way more money, and he didn't even have to get pounded into the fucking turf. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
4.5 minutes remain in this podcast, Paul.
We're slacking on the 5 minutes thing. I don't think we even said it all on the last episode.
This shit just goes. I feel like we've been doing it 10 minutes.
Man, isn't it crazy that you think about those jobbers back in the day, the enhancement talent that everyone fucking knew? Like, you knew Iron Mike Sharp, and you knew the Brooklyn Brawler, and you knew Barry Horowitz. And it's like, because they were on every fucking week of TV. Like, those guys were you saw every week. You got
Devin Storm, the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, it's just
Brad
crazy.
Radford. He became Louis Spicoli.
So it's crazy that, we're talking about making your mark and being the, getting over and things like that. It's like, that's the ultimate of who knows all these jobbers, that they didn't win very many matches, but everybody knew their name. So obviously these guys are doing something right. They always talked about these were the best workers. They're going to make these, big buff dudes who can't work a lick. They're going to make these guys look good because they're such great workers. And, when you're watching it, you don't even realize that. But then when you get to the situation where you're watching the actual work and breaking it down, you're like, oh, fuck, these guys are good, man. So I don't know.
You know what was one of the greatest gimmicks of all time, and they even made it a tag team gimmick? We forget one of the greatest, most memorable tag teams of all time that got a lot of heat and had a good tag team championship run were the fucking Quebecers. You know what I mean? Jacques. There's Jacques Rouge. There was the Rougeau brothers. And then he became the Mountie. The Mountie had so much heat and beat Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title. And then they took the belt, and the Mountie had that rivalry with Roddy Piper where he dropped the IC. That guy was an Intercontinental champion because of that gimmick. They put Jimmy Hart with them, I believe. And then that guy actually had a great entertaining feud with the Big Boss Man, because Nails sure didn't do it. But he had the match where he went he had to go to jail. And that was hilarious. And then they put him with Johnny Polo, a.k.a. Raven, as their manager. Like, the Quebecers, man. They wrestled the Bret and Owen, which launched Bret and Owen in the Rumble match. They put over the Kid and Marty Jannetty. It was like the Quebecers. Jacques and Jean-Pierre Lafitte. You know what I mean? Like, they had why doesn't anybody do the cannonball assisted thing as a finishing move anymore? And it's like, I watched the Techno Team 2000. They did a double leapfrog, and then the one guy came running off the ropes while the one who did the last leapfrog hit a hip toss, and the other guy came off the rope and hit a move. And I was like, fuck, that was some great tag team continuity. Why didn't they make it? I'm thinking probably because they were cock smokers backstage. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And obviously making that backstage impression and becoming one of the boys, I think is important as well. So, well, I mean, you think about the weekend that we just had, and and we talked about this, like, being one of the boys doesn't mean that you have to be drinking alcohol with people. You had made the comment saying I was drinking a Diet Pepsi, but nobody knew what I was drinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
People thought I was drinking along with everybody else, but I was just drinking a Diet Pepsi. Fuck, no one even knew. I wish I knew this for the past 20 years, right? That I don't have to be getting hammered with everybody else. I can watch everybody act stupid, right? It's like, I don't know, the realizations that we come across when we go, hey, fuck, nobody knows any better.
You'll figure it out. It's going to click. Is you do it long enough, it'll click. Come up with something that works. Find yourself a gimmick that can get over. Josh Edlow said it best. Hey, I'm Zack Primetime Reeb. That's the Wrecking Ball. Paul Isadora. We're going over.